Yeah.
Good.
Good. Yeah, 5:30 right there. All right. Well, why don't we get the pledge and then we'll get opened up, folks. How's that sound? Okay. Yeah. One of these are on a collision over here with chairs.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, with that, I'll call the board to order for a strategic planning workshop for was it October 8th? Wednesday, October 8th. I forgot what day it was, so. Yeah, anybody have anything before we get started? We can dive right in, I suppose, and Andy, do you wanna bring anything up to speed, or we know the drill more or less, so.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone muscling through in the last couple of days. I think when I went and assigned permissions, I made a wrong assumption that it might have notified you all that you had them now, so appreciate the hustle.
Oh, I know.
We probably could have looked, I was.
Yeah, many thanks too for taking these last the phase 2 and 3 in one chunk. We appreciate that. I realize there's a lot of them. We touched on all of the focus areas here, so there's 11 different areas to cover. But yeah, if you guys want to just start right in with arts and culture. Oh, sorry, not arts and culture, agriculture and forestry. And it looks like, the scoring was the same for all of them sort of across, with obviously sums being lower, but all landing within the 3 to 5 year range.
Yeah. And if anything jumps out to anybody, just feel free to, any comments or questions, so. We'll see how many ordinance things we can throw at Michael. There's a few, but not as many. Yeah, the list keeps growing, doesn't it?
Well, like I said, once we break it open, we may as well do it all.
Yeah, while you're in there, so, yeah, okay. Do you have any questions or anything on observations? All right, we want to move into arts and cultures? Yeah.
I mean, what we're seeing is that we're seeing this and we're agreeing, right?
No, not necessarily.
The first page. The
Well,
first page.
right now, we're just looking, if you have any, we haven't been going here line by line, but
No.
if there's anything that jumps out, and any comments, or anything, it's just more or less a recap or review. So if there's nothing in ag that's an anomaly or anything, we can move on to.
Yeah, it's worth noting now, I mean, if there's something in there that someone, perhaps feels like, hey, well, maybe that should be something we start in years 1 through 3, I mean, here's an opportunity to kind of flag it, because otherwise everything I think through this review has been 3 or more years out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the 3 years out was signed by the comp plan, right?
These are phases 2 and 3, so it was seeing it as like 4 and out, 4 and beyond, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know if it's specifically, the way that I've been thinking about it is like years 1 through 3, 4 through 7, and then 7 through 9. Basically, first 3, second 3, third 3, and that last year, imagine will be some delays, and we'll need to start gearing up for next comp plan. So.
Well, did you see anything that you questioned, Dan, on that first page?
No, I just want to make sure I understand how it was divided. The 1 to 3s that we looked at. Who determined that those were 1 to 3? That I thought came out of the plan.
It wasn't
So,
the
I mean,
feasibility?
For the sake of this group's effort in creating a strategic plan and trying to operationalize that, this is one layer to your plan.
Yeah.
Right, and the other piece will be when the staff review your priorities and insert the other things that aren't identified in the comp plan in a struggle to have the resources to complete everything that's expected of the town staff and the community just in general. is to try and figure out like where are our limitations, where do we have the ability to do these things, where do we need partnerships to maybe do them? And so this is the effort for the select board to say, this is what we're directing staff to proceed with working on. And so we're starting with the comp plan because it's.
Right. So I just wanna make sure it's still clear to me that the 3 to 5 target years was assigned by the comp plan.
This was assigned by us, me, Emerson and Gabe had chatted about the board needs to prioritize the 168
Yeah.
strategies of the comp plan.
Mhm.
We put an assumed value, we had, I think in the summary, in the first couple tabs. That anything 8 or higher was a high priority, essentially, we're gonna work on it in this first. Plan of the board, this next 3-year strategic operational plan in the select board. Anything
Yeah,
that's
so
towards
and it's, so the 1 to 3 year, right, is like a strategic plan timeline.
high
What the
priority, this
numbers
is what we're
are.
setting forward right now to focus our budget efforts on. and
Oh, so but
priority
the 3 of you assigned this to 3 to 5.
Based on the average score, yeah.
Based on
what
sum
average
total.
score?
From
So, yeah, we'll just take the aggregate.
No, but
Based on what we said, the sum total was.
we went through like. All of these already. So,
Right, so that was phase 1, goals of the comp plan.
phase 1, that's what, yeah,
So that was 96 or 7.
Yeah.
Phase 1.
okay, so phase 1, okay.
The assumption I've made is that there's some things that the board might see, given that you're in the week to week. And more day-to-day stuff than comp plan committee's visionary document is, right? And so we're taking that and saying, we need to make this happen, we need to make this plan a reality, how are we gonna do that with the resources you understand are available? Through current budget, and then as you proceed with next budget year and the year after that, there's a groundwork now to advocate for something, and
So-
that
so-
plan stands. in
So the
mind.
plan might have said phase 2 or phase 3.
It may have.
Correct,
So-
yeah.
So we're looking at phase 2 and phase 3 and
Right.
just trying to decide whether anything should be
Potentially bumped up.
up into our.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may have discrepancies in like the comp plan may have a different timeline or, you know.
Yeah,
But the reality is like.
But the
it may
reason
not
we
be in
looked
that
at,
timeline,
the
yeah.
reason we looked at these first was they were identified as phase 1.
Right,
And,
Correct.
and by the nature of some of our scoring, some of them got bumped down to
right,
later.
right.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll all come back, and I mean, and I think. As the staff are able to review where you're leaning in priorities, like my take on what we'll be doing with them is to. Look at like, okay, these are what the priorities looking like from the board on the first go through. And let's look at what we have the capacity to do in-house, we can look back at the implementation plan and see who was maybe assigned to what. But also they need to have an opportunity to bring in the other things that aren't accounted for. If it says a planner might do or manager might do, it's like, we need to be able to share with you that like, hey, these are where we're able to accomplish these things. This is where we think we might need more help, and put that other layer into the fold here. You got capital plan that you've been looking at for the last couple of years that doesn't include some of the stuff that's in this comp plan. So bringing that in,
A lot of
saying
it,
like,
yeah.
okay, but you know,
Mhm.
looking at the budget limitations we have for this community,
Mhm.
looking at what's reasonable, what's manageable, where's the right place to invest for future projects.
Okay.
So it just adds that extra component to it. But hopefully it's a good platform for budget conversations as we go forward, so folks know where we're headed.
Mhm.
Right, this is where the board's suggesting that they wanna move things to accomplish the comp plan goals, to accomplish the things that we have to do. Whether it's driven by statute, ordinance, or otherwise.
I missed the last session, so I didn't get this kind of interaction.
Mhm.
Remotely was a different experience, okay. But, I'm looking at this, I'm on the second page,
Mhm.
top one on the second page, and.
So we're in the arts and culture now.
Time that,
Yeah.
you know, I was so overwhelmed by. Recognition of the amount of resources that all these things call for and
Mhm.
total. But looking at this thing, I see a couple of benefits of this and not a lot of effort to create a local directory of artists.
Mhm.
I think that could help the economy. Bringing in more people could help create some events that would bring in people, new businesses. And I don't think it's a lot of work to do this.
But isn't that something like the chamber could do for us?
The chamber would be a resource, but you know, they've got their own agenda, but I
Okay.
can bring that forward because I'm not to work with them, but. Yeah, I mean, that would give us a jump start. That's, in fact, I'd be willing to do that.
Yeah, so this-
Yeah, that's a
these are
good
the
point where,
The types of things that we go through, again, 168 strategies in the comp plan, all of them being valued as important and helpful to this community. And also acknowledging, this is where we were able to kind of go through this and like, who, if there are things that are lower hanging, like less time restrict, resources necessary to complete it, it's like there might, and we mentioned this in the last one, it's like there might be a couple things that are like, hey, that's a half hour's worth of work that can happen here. We know there's probably someone or a couple people that probably have a list of farms in the area, and it's just a matter of making that connection. So it might appear as a lower score, but a staff member might be like, hey, that's, I know someone there. We can probably get that up on the website or however we share it.
Right.
So I think there's room for those types.
I'll take that on if you move it up to the first priority group.
Or just leave it and do it.
All right, I'll do it. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, if we get stuff done in years 1 through 3, that is, that has been bumped to years 3 through 5 or later.
That's a benefit.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, you talked about earlier, there might be some things that overlap, you're like, while you're in a project and you add that in, and even if it was a low priority, at the time, it might make sense to tie it in with something else, so, you still have nothing's written in stone necessarily, because things might overlap.
Yeah, because when I go through this, some of it's doesn't really require, staff resources. Like one of these, this is something a volunteer could do.
Well, I mean, I would say, what comes next after Tom creates the list? Where does it go? So the things we need to work
Yeah.
through,
Yeah,
that they might be low hanging fruit, but acknowledging like, okay, it's gonna live where? Where's that list gonna be? On our website, shared with the chamber? I mean, we need to work through.
Yeah.
How often is it updated, how do you keep it updated, who does that?
It's in the chamber.
Yeah.
And if there was an event that would be used, that you would take that same list and put it in the paper, use it for advertising. I can tell you right now, the chamber does not have a comprehensive list of all the artists, although they did do an artist event, but there are many more artists that keep popping up.
Right.
We can find them. Because we talk to the other artists, they know who their friends are, their artists, and we work through it.
Well, like, it would be an interesting conversation too, I mean, as short as it might be, like, what's considered a local artist? Is that artists from all the budding towns of ours, or do we focusing just on where do we share it? Who updates it? It's minor, but it's not irrelevant, it's a piece that someone needs to kind of own. So someone says, well, they don't do it anymore, why don't you have me on that list, and
Yeah.
we just
Well,
need a
keep adding-
format
it's
to be
gonna be
able to,
iterative anyway, it's not gonna be,
right?
you're not gonna get 100% the first time around, but you build on it, but I'll take the first shot.
So that's a good one, like on our end, to realize, like, when we're trying to measure, it's like, hey, once the list is created, let's make sure it gets reviewed every year or
Yeah.
twice a year kind of thing. It's like, we need to create that in the back
And
end
it
so
would
that we
seem
can
that
show.
when people see this published or
They're gonna wanna
however this
be
is
on it.
finished, they're gonna wanna be on it, they're gonna bring forward information.
Right,
Mhm.
I mean, it behooves you
Yeah, you
to.
put a little line at the bottom, if they're not on
Once
this
you
list of
start.
artists, please contact.
Once you start, someone's gonna say, hey, me, hey, me.
Yeah, what about-
We've got a lot of artists around here, that
We do.
you
Yeah.
can't find half of them.
Yeah, and it's a good point, like who takes it on, if it was done in-house, I mean, you're looking at like, it would be Damariscotta, the town of Damariscotta, taxpayers, whatever time would be Damariscotta, but if something like the chamber takes it on,
Mhm.
that'd be much more, more of a surrounding area as opposed to, I think it'd be very limited.
Well,
if-
they're gonna be interested, believe me.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying if it was something done in-house, I
Yeah.
mean, the town's gonna focus on the town, right? So
Mhm.
it would be much more limited for it to be done here as opposed to the chamber or another entity, taking it on and be much broader, which would be beneficial, right?
Yeah, but-
Much more beneficial.
Putting it forward into the first group of priorities tells the town we're doing stuff and this is a freebie, I mean, this is not a hard.
Yeah, Tom said he's gonna get that done over the weekend, is that what it is? Right.
I'll get it,
So. Right, yeah.
Are there any other thoughts around arts and culture?
I have just a final question for the board. The first thing on here is create an arts and culture committee. And I know Andy and I have talked about that when it was, and the comp plan committee talked about that.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on new committees?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That's a good question.
It
Like just trying to,
depends on what is the goal, what the end goal or an ongoing goal of it. It would have to be, like, the mission statement would have to be well defined, just to have a committee to meet to do what, I mean, it would, I think it would take, I'm not saying it's not it's a bad idea. But it would really need to be like, that's why I think I voted, like, it's, you know, long term, like, okay, what does that even mean? What would it be promoting? What would it do?
I think it's a bad idea for the town to be involved in it. That's something.
Well, wouldn't it kind of-
Arts group and do themselves.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it kind of be like the sidewalk committee? They're an entity unto itself.
From the PSAC and
Yeah.
those guys. Yeah.
PSAC does their own thing.
Well, I just, that's kind of why I raised it, because when it first came up, you know, a lot of, with the comp plan committee, we were drafting it. I admittedly was like, yeah, we can make a committee for that, yeah, we can make a committee for that. Then I talked with Andy, and Andy was like,
Oh, boy.
are you exactly? What about the realities of that? So I very much, that's why I raised it, because
But I think some are appropriate for community groups to form. Like,
Yeah.
if somebody wants to form an arts alliance, great. The town
This would
would
be a good
town
example.
would be, town would support it,
Yeah,
but we're not gonna staff it.
Yeah.
Would be my,
Exactly.
would be my sense.
right,
exactly.
But if someone said, do we need a focus around housing? Then I would say maybe that is something the town
Mhm.
wants to get involved in.
Yeah.
Cause it's gonna require more resources and the town could bring certain skills to that maybe don't exist elsewhere. And
Yeah.
And can pull in other resources.
I guess maybe maybe there needs to be some conversation around like when we say committee, what does that mean? Or is it staff, you know, is that something that's staffed by the town, and if there's I don't know, interest group that, okay, this is not staffed by the town, what do we call that? Like PSAC, not really an interest group, they are a committee, but they're not staffed by the town, really.
Right.
So I think maybe that's, as we go through this and as committees and groups and things come up. What are we talking about when we talk about committees? It's just something to think about, I guess.
Well, for this, maybe just getting the directory started will, a committee will be
They want,
formed.
if that group wants a committee, they'll do their own thing. The
Right.
town does not, we're not artists. Anybody here an artist?
Yeah, right.
Do we know what the priorities are in the art?
Maybe draw,
community?
no.
No,
So that's outside of our.
Yeah, well,
I
and
think
I'm thinking not just for the arts, and just committees in general, because I feel like. They said my
Well,
initial reaction was like, let's make a committee, but.
The PSAC's a good example of one that I think they've done a very good job of meeting and coming in, and then, you know, we, you know, maybe not monthly now, but when there's things going on, as a board member, I enjoy when they come in and give us an update and whatnot, and there's nothing official, there's, you know, let's say, you know, the last thing we do was the declaration there, but yeah, it would seem like it would be more of a, you know, a private entity, so to speak, and then if they wanted to update or lobby for something like, hey, there's a grant out there and we think maybe the town should do this, and you know, they bring that to attention, but as I think I agree with the rest of us as far as, you know, a town staff committee that with minutes and agenda, like it's, I agree with Dan, like housing might be a different story, but something like this would be more, it would seem it would grow out of, you know, Tom says putting together the directory and growing out of that and having, you know, folks that are interested in it, and then they figure out what they, you know, what they wanna do, and people come and go, and however they wanna set it up,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
I think it'd be kind of self-sustaining like PSAC is, where they exist whether the town
Right,
tells them to exist or not.
yeah, if they have very specific interest in something and they can focus on that. And then go where they need to, and then if so there's something that the town, you know, if bring attention to something and say, hey, this is what's happening, or we have an economic opportunity, or whatever, we can kind of go from there, but yeah. I think this should, you know, if there's committees, a lot of them could be done
Yeah.
without the town oversight, and, you know, people get
Follow
better
its
doing that.
functions. The town needs a committee to perform its plans or its duties, then the town can form that committee. But we don't need to go out there and form committees everywhere we see some interest. Let's let them do their own thing. But we may
And
need a
it's-
committee, if we decide housing is the priority, for example, like just like Dan said. We form a committee for our purposes to meet that mission.
Yeah.
It's
But-
really clear, I think, through the work that Megan did while she was working with you all this summer. I mean, some of the stuff that she came up with to align a lot of the strategies with potential partners. And there's just so many potential partners for so many of
Yeah.
the strategies that it might become clear, like if there's either like, you know, partners don't have capacity or it doesn't seem like the right fit, maybe gaps will reveal themselves, but it does seem like a good strategy of like, where can you build those partnerships or where can partners take things on? I think is a definite a good strategy. And it sounds like folks there, you guys are all kind of agreeing that you don't need to take on more than is necessary. Yeah.
Well, then we need subcommittees, then you get committees and subcommittees, and it just keeps going.
It gets a little
Oversight
unwieldy.
committee,
Yeah, yeah.
What I like about those bottom two on there, I mean, both of them, the second one, the last one there being creating opportunities for art demonstrations. Both of those to me are things like if staff are aware of the comp plan happening as well, the community is aware of those things as goals, like maybe there's a town building that's the canvas, or maybe there's people that pop in and generally have conversation with staff about, oh, is there, and you start to hear this and you can direct them maybe to the group or the property owner that of interest. I mean, I know we've got a couple walls that on our buildings that potentially, if they're historic, maybe not, but if there's something, no. We've seen it in places like Rockland, they've done some artwork on buildings up
Oh,
in
yes,
town.
murals, yeah.
We were in Bucksport, they got something on some of the privately owned buildings down there. As long as our sign ordinance doesn't interpret those as signs, like there's no impediment that way. I mean, if a building owner wants to get creative, we do have the extra layer of historic preservation downtown, but outside of that.
Yeah.
Being creative with canvases and seeing those walls is something different. I mean, others have done those types of things. And so I think, as we hear those, knowing that those are in there generally as a goal of the community, even if it's not a priority in the first 3 years, just like having a pulse on where it's going and kind of facilitating those conversations in the right place are helpful. I think context.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we're always doing it, which we can point folks to the right direction.
Yeah, ongoing, yeah.
Yeah.
As opportunity arises.
We want to look at economy now?
Let's move into economy,
All
sure.
right.
Anybody, anything jump out, any folks? No surprises?
When we talk about economy, are you thinking about, like land development stuff too? I'm just thinking with a lot of this, one of the I imagine major considerations, we budget and increasing tax rateable so that tax burdens don't go up or at least level off. And I'm just, when we say economy, does that fit in that for you in your head? Does
Well,
the tax
some of
burden
them
fit in economy or does it fit somewhere else?
Some of them overlap.
Yeah, well,
different buckets.
yeah.
I mean, I was just looking back and, even under agriculture and forestry, the first one is redevelopment of aging retail sites within growth areas as their market viability declines. I don't know why that's in agriculture, but that sure sounds like, sounds like economy to me.
Yeah, I
Right.
said the same thing, there's stuff in other.
But I'm happy you said a 7.4.
Yeah.
That's 3.2 or something.
Yeah.
But, so I think they overlap sometimes, because housing is certainly related to economy.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I guess that's what I was just kind of
in
wondering.
in a vibrant cultural area, certainly relates to the vibrancy of the area, which attracts people here, which helps the economy, which have,
Yeah.
helps retail, yeah.
I would guess, I would just assume, and from my point of view, that I think, coming out of tax increases, we're all going to kind of the same. The same level of concern where, okay, there's a lot in here and. How do we implement any of this with the current taxation or without increasing tax burden? And some sort of economic lift has to be there, developing spaces that, 435 Main Street, a good one, the TIF districts and things like that. So anything that looks like it would free up, make things, either easier or promote or, to that matter, I'm guessing that's probably why the numbers come back. It's relatively high on most of them. But in Dan's good point there, I the same thing, you find certain ones in other sections too, that to me, I look like, okay, that's, it could increase and economic, have economic value to it, so that seems like there'd be a good return on investment or something, so.
I got a question on, second one here, the continue invest in Skanaka CLCY Coastal Rivers. We do that now in the budget process, it goes on the warrant, but, why is that out 3 to 5 years? I don't understand, because we've been doing that for the last couple of years.
It's not gonna change. I think we're saying we don't want it to change.
Well, I mean, again, you have to prioritize things. That's one there, so maybe an anomaly to say, well, we already have that in place.
It's
already a
ongoing,
process
yeah,
that you
yeah.
have in which people can give petitions and show support. It goes
Yeah.
on a warrant. So that one there maybe is a bit of a catch on an anomaly unless there's a desire to see it be done differently
Yeah.
or grow or
Right,
something or
right.
pivot, right?
Well, it's
But
also-
there would be a few of these things.
Like I looked at it as whether, okay, there's already a process for provider agencies, so. You know. It assigned it a low, not low value, but it's already in process so do you, to promote it, do you go out and say like. But ask for more, so they're kind of like, it's already there, I don't know how much
Yeah.
more. Tax burden, people could, they can ask for what they want when they do the petition, but
It's almost kind of a place value.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah. Anything else jump out in the economy, folks? Move on to historical.
And again, the flood mitigation stuff is ongoing and supported already, so.
A couple of years ago, I brought this up, then B partnered with Lincoln County News to inventory Calvin's Dodge articles, and
Mhm.
John Roberts agreed to provide the Historical Society with the tapes or whatever. I don't know if that ever happened, but I'd be happy to follow up with the.
Yeah, that could be something that's just,
Year end a year ago, it was kind of.
oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, it could be something that just needs a push, yeah.
Yeah, like this is under historic and archaeological, and the first two. I think about, I don't know how they're historical, but. Long-term flood mitigation, maybe it's just to protect the downtown.
Yeah, I think in this case, it was just to protect the historical
Yeah.
area as opposed to
Yeah.
general flood mitigation.
And it's a designated
Yeah.
historic location.
Yeah,
It's just-
so it kind of fell in with, yeah, I get it,
Yeah,
and it
it
seems like
works.
it's overlap,
Yeah.
it falls into, general flood mitigation, like, especially
Yeah.
downtown, but. But again, yeah, ongoing project, so I don't know if how you would bump them up or increase them, so.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Housing, move on to housing? That's not an important one.
Being mindful that there was a fair amount in phase one identified. in the
Yeah, there's quite a bit.
Remaining items that were,
Exactly.
Yeah.
most of them were in phase.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, there's a lot in there, so.
I mean, this mimics our first one under agriculture as well, so it's listed twice. basically.
Yeah, mixed
yeah,
use,
it
redevelopment,
is.
mixed use.
Yeah, I've got a broken toilet in mine, so if you want to come over and inspect, got a leak, all right,
Yeah.
I don't think that doesn't come in under town planner.
It's kind of, your short-term rental.
Code enforcement.
It's, basic life safety,
Enforcement officer.
basic life
don't we?
safety.
Well, so, yeah, same way.
Marine resources, that's a good one.
All right, well, we can move right along. Yeah, there's quite a few in here, this was a good one to go through, yeah.
Well, the good news
Lots
is
of big
the
things there.
Darling Marine Center is actively studying a lot of the marine activity, more so than they have
Yeah,
in many years.
yeah, they've been great the last couple of years, Tom.
Do you think that's
They
due to
come
Heather?
down to my street about once every 2 weeks with an army.
Wow.
They're doing a lot of, examining.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
Their soft shell clams.
The state's got a site there too.
Yeah.
The state's got a a statewide
Oh,
shoreline
yeah,
survey.
DMR, yeah. Both of them.
DMR's got staff in there periodically as well, so that's one of their sites, it's I think it's one of the furthest ones upstream from the ocean proper.
Yeah, I mean, the last couple of years, they've been all over it. So hopefully we'll see some results.
But just sticking on that one for a second. Collaborate with Darling Center, that doesn't require a huge amount of time from the town though, does it?
I mean, on the surface, no, I mean, what do you, to collaborate, but to do what exactly? right?
To do, yeah,
So the good news is.
so they do the work, basically.
Well, we have a
most part.
shellfish commission too, so
Yeah.
we get updates all the time, so we're
Yeah.
involved in it.
Yeah,
And
So
Heather
yes.
comes and gives us reports.
Yeah.
right,
I mean, this is an example again where we're gonna be able to show this is an ongoing, it's been going, it's been
Yeah.
ongoing, they've been doing the river stories since 2019, I think. And so they're continuing to be able to build on that and capture information from those that are harvesting now in particular. And do some smaller data samples along the way. So that's just a matter of like, what does this mean? We are collaborating, is there more or less, and we can just at least as a measurable document what we've been doing. And kind of be able to show progress there. This is not, it was an ongoing one, it's never really done, I don't think. You know, collaborate until the clam, commercial clam industry is restored to a certain value. I mean, maybe then you've got a more of a finite thing, but in this case, it's very open and continue to collaborate. right?
Sometimes that like, it can be as simple as what we have been doing. I mean, John Marie's been great coming in, doing reports and whatnot, so you can show that as, yeah, that's collaboration, and then, how do you expand that if you're going to, what do you do with that information going forward, but definitely an ongoing project, they've been great, though.
And hopefully it
great
doesn't take too much of the town's time,
Well, that's where it comes to like,
right?
then you just, at what point, I mean, right now, they usually come in and this is a board presentation, they work with the Shellfish Committee. But beyond that,
Do we need?
what would that collaboration look like, and then how much time would it take, so.
At this
Depends,
point,
right?
do we
I mean,
need
the
to?
grants they've been going after, they focus on graduate assistants to be able to accomplish most of it. Some volunteer efforts, they have some volunteers to help them. But at some point, like if the town, the Shellfish Commission, the two-town commission says like, hey, we need to do more. We're gonna go after a grant, we might still wanna collaborate with them on it. But we might be doing more, and so I think it depends, the ones we've been doing, they've been taking the lead and we've been
Right.
under supports for it. And we just hear what they've collected.
Yeah.
It more or less stops.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it could be more, and it might ebb and flow over time, but. We can at least show that there is a level of collaboration that is ongoing.
Mhm.
Anything else there? Can jump out. Gage, you see anything there? I don't know. I forget you're on the screen over there, sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, I just was reflecting similarly to the, phase one, when we talked about marine resources, it was heavily partner-based, heavily collaborative, and this, just is in line with what we looked at in phase one.
Do we actually have something called aquaculture pioneers and?
Yeah,
We do?
well, Smokey McKean for one, and then the fellow with Luke, what's his name?
Oh,
Bill,
Bill,
they've sold, but he's still there, I think.
Luke,
okay,
yeah. he's
So
still-
they
there's
do their-
the two pioneers really, and they have,
so they do their own thing.
yeah, but they do the promotion of the apprentices.
They have the apprentice program.
Okay.
They-
Towards the bottom there's one, provide information about the working waterfront access pilot program. And current use taxation program, the taxation program's probably got a link on our site. And if not, it's pretty easy to do, it's no different in that vein than tax,
Forestry, yeah.
tree
Here we
growth.
go.
Open
Yeah, yeah,
space, the state created these programs, it's just a matter of redirecting them to those sites, for those resources from the state. I'd have to, look again and learn more about the working waterfront access pilot program, but. Some of those, again, partials against, there's gonna be a lot of that we might be able to come back and say like, yeah, we don't need to wait, cause that is a quick link.
Yeah.
For half of that.
Doing
Yeah.
an update or something you could do.
Well,
but,
along that line, we ought to have, somebody from the Harvard committee to come in once a year. Give us an update.
Don't they? No.
There's an annual report, I'll be there. outside of that.
Well, they used to come in, remember?
Yeah, it's a group that needs a little more energy, I think, back in it. Our representation for the shellfish group is also needing some extra bigger, but yeah. I'd be curious, I mean, for a couple of them there are longer term efforts to work with local property owners and land trusts to protect identified points of physical access to coastal waters, and then encouraging the purchase of permanent conservation of uplands adjacent to salt tidal marshes. And to me, one of those is perhaps a little bit less of a financial burden, I'd say, whereas the other one, it sounds like if it's not,
Yeah.
promoting on a map, those areas that are needing to be protected, it might suggest also like, are we gonna be in a position with a reserve fund or something like that to be able to do that if someone else isn't? I mean, it being a goal, perhaps we're in an area that is already taken care of.
You mean to encourage the purchase of
Permanent conservation.
Yeah.
of ones adjacent.
that sure feels like it's in coastal rivers. village. That's their village.
So,
Yeah,
I mean, we would encourage it, because
Right.
it seems like it's a good idea, but.
yeah, definitely. They would probably know what the status of all those are.
Yeah.
That's their job.
Yeah.
It's Jenny.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Can you take that in reverse, or you go? She's probably watching the meeting right now.
I think because others were looked at in 1 to 3, or the first phase.
All right.
Phase 1 is opposed to phase 2 or 3. Yeah.
Folks, we wanna move on to the next couple of your natural resources. Natural resources and public facilities.
Skip one?
You got? Missing one?
No, I think that's all.
Did I lose you there? No, I'm here. All right. Brought you back in.
I mean, like, number B there, or number B is, I mean, don't I see those kind of signs already?
There's some there now, but I think as other invasive species might enter the mix and appear, you might need more signage, expanded, but there is information there. I'm pretty sure the kiosk is still there. Coastal Rivers was working at one point on building a new kiosk that they were thinking of placing there.
You're talking about
Bisbee
business.
Beach, yeah.
I know there's a kiosk and, well, and a little placard
Hmm.
around the boat launch, in the parking lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bisbee Beach, yeah, I know we took a couple of trees down, and I was talking with Jim Grenier about that site. I haven't been back to see if anything new's gone in there, but there is information on the boards down there already, just keeping it current and up to date.
So one of the invasive species is the green crab, and now we're getting more aggressive green crabs from Canada coming down here.
Oh,
So if anybody's interested in green crab recipes, I can supply them.
Wow.
There is a supplier as well down in Boothbay. It's a gentleman that will sell them to you. And you can make like green crab corn chowder and all kinds of things you can make them.
well, you
I
know,
know that's something you like to cook for your daughters.
yeah.
there is a
Who
company,
picks them out?
Tom, there is a company out there that is harvesting green crabs and making fertilizer.
Sure.
Yeah.
So they're very,
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they are helping
Well,
us.
Connecticut and Mass, there's some restaurants now, they're serving them on a regular basis, yeah.
They're
Well,
edible.
and when they're soft shell, they're just like regular crabs. In fact, they're tasty. They're really good. I've had them.
They get that big.
No, they
But there's
don't. You
meat
eat
in
them
them?
soft shell, you eat the whole thing, just like a
Oh.
soft shell crab.
Oh,
Yeah, they're quite tasty.
Yeah, we're gonna pick them out.
Yeah, I've trapped them off my dock and I've eaten them.
Huh. Sounds like Tom said invited us down
Like a lot
for.
of part of it.
Assistant to the green crab dinner is what I heard. You have volunteered yourself for so much stuff that I do.
No, the only problem is, you can only make a chowder out of them because you can't catch them in the soft shell transition unless you stay underwater with goggles.
Gotcha.
I think it sounds like we might need to just rehabilitate their image, because when you hear
Yeah.
invasive species, you think,
Right, it's all marketing here.
yeah,
This is
right,
yeah.
I need a better PR person.
Exactly. All right. Anything else there? We've got public facilities and services, just one item on that one. Jumping out to anybody, we can keep moving on if there's nothing. Recreation?
It didn't score very high, did it?
No, looking at the board, I think we all could use a little more recreation.
Read.
Okay.
Yeah, anything jumping out there, folks? Recreation?
Well, the whole idea of treating the park is delightful. How do we make it happen? It's a big question.
Hmm.
It's interesting in the first phase that the one strategy that made it was to create a recreation and open space plan,
Right,
so. I mean.
so it will follow that we create a park from the plan,
Plan first, and then, yeah.
right?
Maybe.
Right,
And funding. Funding. Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Very good, we'll move on. Transportation. Yeah. Parking study, that jumped right up there.
Yeah.
What's interesting about that one too is, Andy, you did a good chunk of a parking study. Well, I didn't say it was comprehensive, but you had a start to it, you know.
Great learning thing came out.
Yeah, there was.
The first one was how many spaces are.
Yes.
Businesses.
Absolutely,
More than
absolutely.
there.
Yeah,
apparently.
no, I think that was a huge eye opener for everybody, so. So we did, yeah, prior to the parking lot closure, that was, there's some seeds there for that study. You know. Yeah, parking is a premium. I always hear, like a back and forth with rail into Newcastle, you'll hear suddenly that like, hey, something's happening, and then
Yeah.
poof, it's gone again. Yeah. So
Well,
I-
they're, what's his name? Rob Nelson is redoing the building there that's supposed to, where the train's supposed to stop. In the hopes that
station.
we will get a train
Mhm.
coming.
Is that the
through.
guy at Lewis Street?
Mm,
No.
Select board there for a minute.
He was.
Oh, no, you're thinking of.
No,
No, he's the guy down there, that's
16
units.
Rob Nelson
He
is,
built those 16 units of housing over
Yeah.
in those.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's a guy down at Lewis Point, that
Yeah.
Oh,
was involved with one
that's-
of the
I know, he used to live next to Mom.
He's very interested in trying to get that.
Cause he owned
Interesting,
railroads.
Yeah, yeah.
He owned
Oh,
railroads.
okay.
Yeah.
oh, yes, I knew you were talking about.
You know who I mean.
Well, there's, you know,
George. Yeah, I think, yes, he, I
Becky,
think, I believe
yes,
he
George
sold-
Becky, yeah,
sold that rail, the
okay.
rail,
Yeah,
yeah,
so,
but he's
but
very
he's
interested in
in getting
railroads.
it back together.
oh, I'm sure, yeah, he was definitely
Yeah.
interested.
yeah, it seems like every, once a decade, you hear something all of a sudden, it's like, hey, this is happening, and then poof. Yeah.
At Common Ground Fair, they had a table, the railroad people, and they were like, they're just so upset that nothing is getting passed statewide to push rail.
Yeah. I
And
think
they're
this is
not-
one of those ones where I think we're generally supportive of it, but there's not a lot we can do by
I don't
ourselves.
think so.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
see, I was in a different town.
Yeah, well, that's what, you'd also need to, you need an endpoint, it's either gonna be Rockland or Camden. or
Yeah.
something,
Exactly.
and-
Used to be rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they would
Yeah.
have to be,
That railroad goes to.
this would be a
Right.
stop on the railroad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
almost like an extension of, your Brunswick and coming up through, but how do you make that connection?
Yeah.
Yeah, if we get the down easter to come through or something.
Well, that was a discussion item, wasn't it?
it was,
Oh, down
Yeah.
easter, down easter coming up. Yeah,
yes,
Yeah, it was, so.
it still is,
But,
it's just,
yeah, I
has.
don't know what the,
doesn't have a
what
lot
the
of-
rail is between, right there, yeah, cause like different places own rail, it's really. Yeah, it's weird, Okay.
The last one there, another example there where if you're doing major ordinance updates. That's a pretty straightforward line to add in theory. To what's already a complex list of things, I'm in the site plan review ordinance to require development projects, certain projects are EV ready. mean, there's just conduit in the ground available for the stations later on, right? That gets tricky, because if you're gonna do a level. 2 charger versus level 3 charger, you're gonna probably need different, or if you're gonna put a bank of how many in there, I mean, how much conduit, I mean. How do you dictate what's
Yeah.
EV ready essentially?
Right, and
Yeah.
but there's, you could chat about this for a while, and when you're drafting the ordinance, and I'm sure it'll come to the size of the development as well.
Yeah. That's, and, main housing already does, well, I guess it wasn't for EV chargers, it was for the roof, for solar panels, like Rob's project in Newcastle. They don't require that you put solar panels on it, but they do require that it's like solar panel ready, that you have a conduit so that
Yeah.
you don't have to tear the building apart to run the line down, so it's basically the same thing for EV chargers.
Going back to the railroad, maybe I'm dreaming, but a couple of days ago, I heard the railroad whistle. A couple of years ago, I heard it on a regular basis. So the line is probably still functional.
It is, for a
It
while,
is.
we had something going back and
Yeah,
forth.
yeah.
Dragon Cement used to use it, but
Yeah.
Oh,
and I assume it's them who
But they
are still using
don't
it.
they
but-
do
No,
those,
they're closed.
don't they do those seasonal
Which is
tourist
why-
train as well?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yes. It's a different track though, right?
Yeah,
that's
might be
something,
Wiscasset, all that.
That's Wiscasset to Dresden. out there.
Yeah, but I did hear, yeah, the last week or so, I think twice I've heard.
Yeah.
Train
So
whistle
it's
come
not
through.
me, okay.
It's not,
So
if something's
still
come
some
through.
trains Back and forth, like,
Well, I mean.
Yeah, but
shows
not
the
regularly.
viability Of it, other
Yeah.
than the economics, so
Yeah.
I mean, the track.
But it's also when you look at track condition, it's, to move people, you have to look at the speed. And certain tracks, depending on the condition they're in, if you can only move your train at 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, in your roadways, right? I mean.
I learned a lot, when my father was in the hospital, I spent 6 months going back and forth on the Amtrak. So I got to talk to a lot of people on the train. But it was wonderful, it was a great mode of transportation, but I learned a lot, like, why are we only going 30 through here, cause we can't go any faster.
so,
Because tracks,
so Rob Nelson had to have his new buildings solar panel ready. Is that new housing?
Well, Rob's project,
Yeah,
well, he put solar panels on them.
right.
He knew that he was going to, but
But main housing wants new housing to be solar panel ready. Do
yeah,
they also say they need to be EV ready?
I don't believe they
Just solar
say
panel, okay.
EV ready, but
Okay.
it's the same kind of concept, you just gotta make sure that the hole is there, you can drop the
Okay.
wires through.
It's a requirement of the subsidized
Yeah, right,
housing,
exactly.
yeah.
Okay. for
Yeah,
both?
where he's going through, that project was subsidized housing, so they make certain things that you have to do this, have to do
Right,
that, to have a
but it
subsidized,
doesn't
yeah.
include EV.
Yeah, so
I don't
I
think
don't think so.
No.
Although I would think EV ready would be even a lighter lift, cause it just needs to go through, I mean, it needs to go through a concrete wall, but if you are building it in when you're doing it, it's not going up through 2 or 3 stories of building, it's
Right.
going through next.
The first level.
So,
Or not.
yeah, it's, right.
But it comes in off the grid and it's
Off a pole and.
come off a pole,
Hit
yeah.
the ground and there's
Yeah.
a meter on the.
Yeah.
You could have
I
redundant,
mean, we,
two links of redundant, 2-inch conduit, whatever it requires.
yeah, on the train thing, I just wanted to mention, if you're out and about, I think last year they did have an excursion. Like an excursion line that ran to Pumpkin Fest.
They did.
Was that last year? So they might, I'd be curious to see if they did.
There
somebody
was
else
something
again.
that happened since that. I think
Where did it go
made
from?
that effort kind of go sideways.
Well, I think George sold
Discuss it.
the
Had
line.
Wisconsin to Damariscotta?
I mean, but he sold to somebody, so who knows?
Oh,
Who the hell it's, but just,
Yeah.
you see,
He's a very interesting guy. Went traveling and find out what's going
I
on.
mean, Lincoln County's got, I think working with MCOG, Thrive Transportation, something or other.
yeah.
I'm not sure, I think
communities.
this is part, but rail's kind of part of it, right?
I think they're looking, yeah, at all transportation and for the, well, I guess for the county,
Right.
well, and for the
Region, yeah.
but. I kind
There's
of,
some efforts out there still, and we should keep a pulse on them, and
yeah,
if there's supports are needed, I guess that's where we're
Sure.
sitting there.
Yeah. That'd be interesting.
just as an aside, Andy, who deals with the busing transportation for Pumpkin Fest? Not us.
the organization, Pumpkin Fest, hires buses to come in for the weekend.
Oh, okay.
It's all done through them, yeah.
And done well.
Then
Yeah.
through,
Yeah, they were home that for a while. Yeah.
And Kevin, other people don't have to do it.
Yeah, no, that's all in through them.
That's great.
yeah, it's, their efforts and on the support of other private property owners to utilize parking areas that might be underutilized that time of year.
Yeah.
To make it happen, I mean, Camden National Bank's that spot, Coastal Rivers, the school. And there's a bunch in town that are for walking lots, but I think those are the big ones for the driving bus ones.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, no, they coordinated well, people flowing in and out, yeah. All right, here's the water resources. Reading that one, yeah.
Yeah, you read that?
Yeah, took me a minute, I'm like,
Really?
what's that? I don't remember.
It was the last one and the highest.
Yeah. Any, comments, thoughts?
Have you had the water in this building tested?
It's on the public supply, so they tested it, but I haven't, I find out, we haven't tested it here specifically. But the public entity has to test their water pretty regularly.
But
Wonder what's down.
You go through your own pipes, so.
Yeah, the building got redone in about 20 years ago.
Hmm.
So all the pipe work should have been updated at that.
Updated, yeah.
I know some of the parts I've seen for the bathrooms over there in particular, that's all new PVC and VAX stuff over there. So, I mean, a lot of the old blinds, you're worried about the lead soldering and jokes on them, and
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I know my house is one that's on a list to be voluntarily tested every once in a while to make sure it's not seeing anything.
Yeah.
But they have a few sites in and around town, the system that service checkpoints for quarterly.
Oh, interesting, yeah. I've been taking a look at it at Little Pond at that Biscuit Road entrance, is there signage there already?
It's pretty, I think there's something there.
There's something there, I mean, we go by it all the time, but I
Like,
never.
it's like a student access, don't bring
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
There is a sign.
There was somebody on the committee that used used Little Pond. Felt that there wasn't enough signage to protect it as a public water. So they made a point of
Yeah.
making sure something got in here.
Well, that's one for me, like it's in the town's comp plan to say to improve the signage, but is it really on the municipality to
That'd be-
do that?
Or folks across the street.
Or maybe not on the
Definitely
terms of those guys to say.
Right.
Partner, hey,
Yeah.
put more signs up,
Yeah.
Right.
don't forget your sign permit,
I know they have, at the pumping station end, coming in off Standpipe Road.
Yeah,
They have, that's regulated
Yeah,
very
no,
well.
but I think people walk in.
Yeah,
you
but
know, yeah.
walking in off Biscuit Road is a different story, yeah,
Walking
yeah.
up this
So
yard,
the
very
main
good.
entrance there, but coming in and
Canoes and stuff. and
Yeah.
everyone else, like,
Yes, a lot of fishing, yeah.
I think one of the strategies in here, I thought, was to get Little Pond, like designated as a no land zone for seaplanes, because I guess that happened at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's open, like you can go boat on it and fish in it.
not supposed to use motorized.
Yeah.
No motors, no live bait.
Powered,
Yeah.
paddle.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's not like, you're not allowed to touch it, but. Apparently someone, I don't know when, landed on it and they were like, no.
No.
Do not listen.
I thought of that, that's interesting, yeah.
Well, I remember when that one came out, and I was trying to remember ever seeing a
Oh,
plane.
well, I mean,
in body of
Right,
water.
a float plane coming there, like,
Never,
So someone,
yeah, they apparently did.
Yeah,
Well, in the
Yeah.
rights for a municipality, perhaps if that was the approach we took to regulate the use of inland waters is pretty narrow. You can regulate how your harbors are used, you can regulate what's attached to the land into those water bodies, but you can't usually put a whole lot on the regulation of the state, essentially, state resource.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't advocate for them, but.
yeah, right.
Right, yeah.
That public water supply probably is slightly different, and so maybe it needs to have some sort of other signage available viewing from above.
Yeah, don't let them play with it.
Oh.
Or exit or something that, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so there's gonna be a couple of theirs that are in there, it's like, okay, there's something that we could maybe encourage another group to be doing, but out of their own interest for the sake of the public, but.
Yeah,
It might not be us putting signs up and paying for it.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe they don't, I don't know.
do we have anyone that goes to the water district meetings?
Michael's been to a
I
few.
go, oh yeah, on occasion, it's not a regular thing. but
We communicate with Scott, periodically, beyond the project, things that are going on. Try and touch base on any capital stuff coming up and stay ahead of, or work behind them rather than in front of them.
Right, right.
On stuff.
Do we need someone to?
I think it's a relationship that
We have.
We're trying to
good
grow out, but,
relationship anyway, right?
yeah, just getting partnered with them and figure what that means, but. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Because in another setting, if the water district was totally in the town of Damariscotta, it would be part of the municipality, wouldn't it? It would be
It may be
municipal.
in some places.
It is.
They've got. A lot of times you see the sewers more often than the water be part of the government function.
Yeah.
Water, because it's typically older, is typically a quasi municipal, its own
Right.
entity, but some of the sewer solutions, sewer plants are a little bit newer and. There wasn't a district taking it on at the time, and so they kind of defaulted, the towns were told you have to do this, and so the towns had to build it, they created their own district, but.
Yeah, just
It's
part of
the
the
function of the government, which is a smaller representation.
Right.
Or maybe it's townwide, and you elect your own board of that typically.
Do we still have a public works committee?
It's on paper. We haven't had-
Yeah, it hasn't met
Who's
for,
in? I mean,
The
that
last
was,
one's that we're in it with Josh, Lou.
I know, they're neither in it,
yeah, Josh, Lou and.
they're not on it anymore, right? Or are they?
I don't think, who's that? do
We haven't
them?
really had a need for it.
I was just wondering if they
Yeah.
still exist.
What does
yeah.
public?
I mean, they haven't
do?
disbanded the committee. for
Yeah.
that.
What did they do?
It's a great question, because it was,
Develop a work plan.
yeah,
To do what?
Routine work.
Oh, just, okay,
Yeah.
not including
Oh.
the sanitary district.
No.
no, it was more of just kind of a workshop group than anything official, like you still had to, still had to go through process, but.
They
But
have a
it's
few RFPs sometimes.
been a while, yeah. Yeah, but I don't think we've,
But you don't have anybody that's active, do you?
Well, more on me, I'm not clear what the purpose of it is.
well,
We're coming back to the board, you see the value in having it, you need it.
yeah,
Well, just,
Yeah.
I mean,
I haven't called.
used to, just a year ago when Josh was here, we used to hear periodically.
I think,
yeah.
I think it's Andrew and Daryl right now, because they're on the
Joint one,
but yeah.
Yeah, and then this was like, you look at what's the purpose, talk about committees, like, what is the actual, because now I think the, obviously with you being road commissioner too, that changes things a little bit, because you're a little more direct, relation to it, and direct relation to the board, so it seemed like it's more or less a little superfluous right now to have another committee to do, to recommend something and then come back to the board anyway, to go through.
On the website,
Probably. Can't remember.
you might wanna check to see what it says.
Yeah.
I mean, until the select,
It's not-
disbands it, I mean, standing group and.
Yeah, but if a list of members and they're not,
Yeah.
involved, whatever.
Yeah, it just doesn't do anything, yeah.
I don't know,
It's not required by,
It seems like it's kind of,
This is your opinion.
Oh.
I mean,
it's kind of what Andy already does,
yeah,
Like the
that's why,
road
that's
commission.
why he hasn't called for
right?
a meeting with them.
I haven't heard the pushback from the board in terms of we're not doing certain things, I mean, so we try and keep up with the needs and we have a capital plan, we have a. General sense of maintenance routine work.
Exactly.
I'm not saying.
I think the support's been there in the last few years from the community to support the budgets to try and get stuff done. But so there's a couple of them, I think, that are kind of on that list, the finance committee would be another one.
Yeah,
So I did
Yeah.
talk to a few folks this summer that would be interested in coming back on that, so. Just a matter of what's the task, what's the function, what's the purpose, and making sure that they're clear, so they're not feeling like they're wasting their time. And that the board has something that needs to be looked
Yeah.
at, and we have looked at it, I think, so yeah, I mean, any of those committees that come up and, there might be, it might be worth trying to. I'll say formalize it a little bit, but truly, like, when you're gonna create one, and then we do the implementation committee is like. Clearly defining the
Yeah.
purpose and the task of the group.
It doesn't need to exist just to exist.
No.
But you could always go back to the
No.
one you've got now and say, hey, we're gonna review these and see if they're still effective or needed, and if so, let's put the same effort in on.
Yeah,
Making sure
my
they're
only
clear.
point was that, when Josh was on it, he was on the board here, he used to bring up some good points. And if you have a committee, you don't have the expertise, forget it, it's not worth it. So,
Yeah.
If we don't have anybody that's like, that has that knowledge.
And even then too,
Input is worth anything, so don't have it.
with Josh going to the committee, it could be done the same thing when he was on the board. The same information could have been discussed at the board level, so kind of overview, but. we could form a committee to do a feasibility study of committees. You wanna form-
Oh, my God.
For the committee to just be. Committees.
There are,
That would actually be useful.
Yeah.
there are some good examples and reasons to talk about it, 'cause I mean, I think, you know, one of the things you come up with is kind of these guiding rules essentially, and so they know every year, it's like, there's expected to be a town report. Quarterly, we need to report to the board to check in, but it's
Yeah.
also like an opportunity to say, you're on the right track, thanks for getting this done, you know, otherwise, like, the group just exists, and it's like, it's.
Yeah, no, you don't want.
Just need the guardrails to be clear and like, okay, what's the task, why are we here, what are we doing?
Well, even like I did point to the Public Works Committee in particular, where there was there was always some questions sometimes about from the general public, like. What do they do and are there minutes, like it's a meeting?
Right.
Like, what's their official capacity, do they direct, do they have a vote, you know, so there's always those questions too, like if you're gonna have a committee, do you form it and have it needs to have. A chair, does it need to be, you know, advertised in public and, you know, you'd hear that once in a while, like. What do those guys do when they meet or whatever committee might be, so if it's a. If it's a town formed committee, it seems like you need to follow those same rules, right, yeah,
So
so.
we do have
that's-
two different types of committees, you have kind of the standing committees and then the kind of ad hoc groups.
Yeah.
That you pull together to get through a
Right.
particular task, like the public works thing.
Mhm.
You know, we are running agendas and minutes and recording the stuff, but, you know, you might have a more short-term focused, and then, you know, MMA sees that you have a standing. Committee that's gonna be a fun, you know, kind of a more long-term serving, you do wanna have it structured in a way that has.
It needs to be, yeah,
Purpose stated and the officers of it, so that someone is keeping that record for the town.
yeah, as opposed to a short term, like a workshop or a working committee on a specific thing, yeah. So. Anything else, did anything else come about, folks, through? Water resources, so. Where do we go next?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Gage, you're
Thank
on.
you. Thank you again, for going through this process. You guys made it really efficient and, you know, it helps us kind of check the box that everyone's been able to look at it again, weigh in, and now we can move forward. So, yeah, so, Emerson and I met today and we're moving forward with taking everything that you all have scored and we're categorizing it in ways where we can sort of chunk like strategies together. So, you know, like we noted, of course, you know, there's so many ordinance pieces. So how do all those fit together? There's definitely projects that are like one-off, very easy, those types of things. You know, how do those fit into someone's workday? Is that like a month-long project that someone could take on and just chip away at it and then it's kind of done? Where are the things that are sort of like an ongoing something that maybe is already happening or could easily fit into someone's existing schedule? So we're kind of basically taking everything, categorizing it in a way and formatting it in a way where we can bring it to staff, hopefully at their staff meeting next Wednesday. So we should have an update for you all, just sort of letting you know like where the process is at next Wednesday's board meeting. And we'll probably then be able to update you a little bit more as the staff begins to review things, sort of where we're finding we're landing, but our goal is to be able to bring you like a map of a roadmap forward by a meeting on November 12th. I believe we had agreed that there would be another workshop. So that's currently the plan. And Andy or Emerson, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that as of now.
No, not too much to add. I think, note that as we're creating these categories, we're creating them based on the conversations that we've heard you all have throughout the past workshops. And we know that they're not final, so we're telling staff that we're expecting more to come up as they review, as we talk one-on-one with them. We're also open to hearing more from what you all think. So kind of the plan, what we're gonna submit to you all on the next board meeting is probably a rough look at what the staff will be receiving. And then they'll have the 2 weeks between the 15th and October 29th to review both as a group and individually. So things to come. We're open to suggestions, especially we want to make sure that the way that you all have prioritized things is reflected accurately in what we deliver. So if we're not happy with it, when we come to the board next week, we can remove.
Great, thanks, Jimson, yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be, that's an important part of it, is the staff input and also where they see the capabilities and priorities, so it's a huge part of it. You know, that fits in, so, great. Okay. Anything else, everybody?
I just have a question, something that came up, Emerson and I were talking earlier. The work plan, does the board put together a work plan? Andy, like that, is that something that's still gonna happen? I know they haven't going back, like annual work plan.
Yeah, I see this strategic plan replacing that.
Okay,
It's a multi-year focus, and so
Yeah.
instead of waiting until,
Gotcha.
you know, the month 2 of the 12-month period to complete an annual work plan, this is let's get this done and review it in the future in like November, December, so that it's before the budget process, so that
Yes.
you know why you're budgeting what you're budgeting for the
Yeah.
following year, so trying
Yeah,
to.
this is definitely more robust and more detailed, yeah, than the work plans previously were, you know, it's spreadsheet, what did we get done, what didn't we get done? Can we do this, maybe, you know, it is very basic, but it's something, yeah, that's what that goal is, to have this kind of.
I see some of those things that were on it that still aren't done, like being brought into this is like, kind of like, oh, this was the strategy, it's like, oh, hey, we're doing this now by doing business licensing, or hey, we're doing this now because we're focusing on, you know, a communication plan or whatever, it's like, we're able to take what we're doing and show that like we're making progress already on the things that we're already identified in the comp plan. And just finding a way to use the new software to push that forward and show progress and. Just trying to, make that a more robust multi-year view, so we're not doing it every year necessarily and always kind of feeling like it's. Why do we solidify it again 2 months into the new fiscal year? Or why are we waiting, kind of, in a sense, wasting those 2 months, waiting to know what we're doing?
And we also, and in the past too, like, we would discuss the work plan, you know, after the town meeting, and that would be it. You know, we discuss it once and then move on, and we talked in the past couple of years about it being a document that needs to be more a living document, like it doesn't, we looked at it, okay, that's it, and then 12 months later, if we look at it again, what have we done? And this form going ahead is gonna be, you know, much more, you know, alive, so you can update and focus on it more often, you know, so what is actually happening, so.
Well, I think it'd be helpful
approach.
To hear like, how does the board wanna check in on it? I mean, there'll be the public facing dashboard, but do you want it brought up at a month, once a month at a meeting? Is it quarterly? We're gonna pop it up at a meeting quarterly with the select board and say, here's where we're at, here's where we're falling behind, we're able to get ahead on, or whatever. And then when it comes up for eventually that period, whether you're gonna every year add a 3rd year on again, or in 2 years or do another 3-year, I think to give some thought to that probably before we get done with this process we gave is kind of identifying that next iteration of this, just like the comp plan in a similar sense, right? I mean, that some point needs to get updated in the future, it's further out. But same way, I mean, and I think another piece is, we haven't talked much yet, is how do we engage the public? Okay, we're gonna share with them, here's what we're doing, here's how we did, here's how we measured it, what do you think? If we hit what you expected of us, and be able to create that and insert them in the next iteration, essentially. Right now, we're kind of, I'm making an assumption that the comp plan is still relevant enough and recent enough that like that was the public input. Staff will be adding to this, but the next time around, you're gonna ask the public, how do we do, how are we doing? Where do we need to refocus, where do we need to zero in, here's what we're thinking. By using the public input on the next phase, next iteration to make sure that checkpoint with them, to engage them, to make sure you're all what we're supposed to.
I think you ought to start quarterly, because otherwise you spend too much time getting ready for each monthly report. And if that doesn't work, then we can always change it to monthly. If it works at quarterly, you start there. Too much energy doing monthly reports on it.
If I can just ask a question that goes back to the work plan, it outlined, I was looking at it today, and it outlines, I don't know, 7 to 10 different focus areas that the various tasks would fall under. Is it safe to assume that you all feel confident enough in what the strategic plan is going to shape out to be with the focus areas that also were identified in the comp plan, that those in the work plan can be just absorbed, you know, because Gabe and I were talking, we need to acknowledge that the work that we're doing in the comp plan or in the strategic plan also falls in line with what the board outlined. And that could be another way of showing progress, but it's also adding yet another set of items to review, progress markers to track, separate focus areas which are related but somewhat different. Is it safe to assume we can somewhat absorb that into the process we've already got?
I would think so. I'm thinking of examples, like if you look at a lot of it, there's a lot of public work stuff on there, right? Like a lot of road improvement things, so. Infrastructure, so yeah, so I would envision it like, how do you, I remember one that always stuck out to me is always like, you know, culverts, we plan to put 10 to 12 culverts in a year. But find where that fits into infrastructure, and that can be an example, like, okay, this, whatever line item in the strategic plan. And say, okay, here's a result, we, you know, amongst that, we did 5, instead of having specifically put culverts in. You know, a much, you know, maybe a more broad interpretation of that, and then the results are, we did this, so I would think as much as that can be absorbed in that, and it would make sense
I
to.
definitely
one
think
up
you wanna
now.
consolidate the work plan into this plan, because otherwise we got too many plans to.
Yeah, yep.
Wanna do that blindly, not having.
And we'll form a committee to help do that.
So, then are there things, like I imagine there's plenty of stuff that the town does that's not included in the comp plan, right?
It's true.
How, where, how do you wanna, how?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, my thought process is the board's done the work to say, okay, there's the comp plan, here's how it was envisioned. As a, just a kind of visionary piece, this is saying, this is where staff resources are gonna be put forward, this is where we're gonna advocate for budget resources to go forward. But the staff having about a month now to be able to follow up on what the board's gone through to initially prioritize things. Can check some of that, can add to, well, don't forget, we're already doing this, this, and this, we need to insert this for the board or no, and some of it's on the work plan, some of it's not on the work plan. And so we need to bring that forward to show, like, this is why, well, here's how we're spending our time, here's where the resources have been, hey, don't you remember, there's about 8 grants that we currently have that we need to work on, actually. You know, and all those are set time, right? And so there's other things that are, so we just need to make sure that that's brought forward in this process, to capture, you know, where staff is spending time as well. And so that way we can envision, as the next budget cycle comes forward, like, there might be positions and tasks that we want done that might require, again, consultants to come in and work with, whether it's Lincoln County Regional Planning or something like that. A part-time position or an expansion of current position. At the end of the day, or it's stronger partnerships with some recognition, probably in some cases, for them doing the work. So, but we need to kind of, I think, get a sense of like, where are the staff currently, what do we have for capacity, where are we already operating, where do we have capacity to have some, oh, I like that idea, I think I want to stretch myself and take that on, right? Support them in that, but make sure that we understand where their limitations are right now.
Yeah,
that's.
Yeah, no, it sounds to me like we're putting generally in the strategic plan is everything's going into that, and that's what I just wanted to make sure.
Hopefully, most of what we're doing already fits.
Well, yeah.
If there's some outliers, we just need to create a separate category or however we visualize that, or they're like, oh, yeah, there's a bunch of just other things. Say, wait, what's going on? Why are you doing that?
Yep, done.
Well, I just know, there's some stuff that didn't fit in the comp plan that,
Yeah.
you know, like one of the things, like health and community health, is just, it's not something that was in the. It's not addressed in the Growth Management Act, so it's not in comp plan, but I imagine it's something that's important, so. Basically, anything that comes up over the next 10 years that's not in the comp plan, that the community says, we wanna work on this, great, we just gotta. It just needs to get incorporated into the strategic plan and. That makes sense.
Yeah, because the strategic plan can be, it's guided mostly by the comp plan, right? But it could be, you know, you can morph something into there, or if it doesn't fit in a category that already exists, it can be added in and prioritized, you know, as
And
needed.
it can be flexible too, the world can change.
Yeah,
It just does.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that, you know, for something later on for us to come back to in a future workshop is kind of like. For the board to kind of agree on, well, what is the process when you have an issue crop up? and the community, people from the community come in, you know, and you've got a meeting where there's 10 people here to talk about it, the same issue, it's like. Acknowledging that, but like, we've gotta also take a moment, and say, okay, pause, let's make sure this fits in, like, where are we gonna fit this in? Do we need to reshift resources, reallocate resources to make sure this now is happening? And be conscious about something else, maybe that gets shifted, and we can explain then in the dashboard, so to speak, of like, yes, this was the goal to get this done before June, we're gonna have to wait until next June because this happened, right? And be able to explain that to people, in a way that hopefully resonates and makes sense, but so it's not looked at as like, hey, why didn't you get that done?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
why not?
leaving room for those things, and so how do you wanna, as you think about it in the future, when those things come up, like, how do you wanna? Amongst yourself, kind of score it in beyond acknowledging and say, yes, we're gonna fit this in, this does rise to the level of inserting it now versus, hey, let's take a look at that next budget cycle.
Well, you'll have to bring it forward to us as it occurs,
Mhm.
and as far as updating the plan, if you have that quarterly report, you can, after the board discusses whatever it is and reprioritizes things, you can report it there for the public.
Easy, it's all done.
First of all, this.
A little work there for Emerson and Gates, but. Yeah, but it's gonna be important. I mean, I'm very interested to see with the staff report and stuff too, you know, that's yeah, I'll say it again, that's a huge part of this is. See what we have for internal capabilities and then that's, you know, reality check, you know, all this stuff, so, yeah. It's gonna be good, so. Cool. All right. Anything else to add before we? Yeah, Emerson, we all, you guys good? Okay, thank you, yeah, for putting this together and compiling everything and. Yeah, we'll get to the next one, so. Nothing else to add, I'll entertain a motion. Who wants it? Someone, no, man,
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second, all those in favor? Okay, I think we are adjourned.
All right, thank you all. Have a good night.